All of the Jesus scholarship on the quest for the historical Jesus is um, emerges from the work of Albert Schweitzer, book The Quest for the Historical Jesus, published in 1906. When trying to figure out who the real Jesus is, remember that, the only stories we have about Jesus are in the Gospels, right?
Mm.
There's nothing about Jesus in terms of his life in uh, the letters of Paul. There's nothing about it in the book of Acts, so it's only the Gospels. The Gospels, however, are overlaid with myth on top of myth. How do you peel that apart to try to find out, well, who is the guy behind all that myth? How do we segregate the information we're presented with, which is layered of layers of legendary material, and discover who might the historical Jesus be? It really is all speculative, and the methodology of who Jesus was is very, very difficult, and it's a very soft science. That criteria of embarrassment, I think, is much more rigorous than the criteria that other scholars use. They're using verisimilitude, which means what would match, what would map onto an Orthodox Jew living under the Roman Empire in the first century, when there was no hope of any where you could defeat the empire. What would someone like that be like? Do some scholars present this as something that they can be sure of? I'm not persuaded by that. Which is no question Paul produced the Christianity we know about it. His view, his Christology is one. Because I think he was a thoroughly Hellenized Jew who was very familiar with Jewish teachings and familiar with Hellenistic ideas, and he just fused it all together.
Yeah.
Paul really is responsible for the invention of Christianity. But Paul was he wasn't an innovator, which means he took pre-existing um, Hellenized Judaism that was already there, Neoplatonic ideas that were very, very in vogue. Paul isn't the only person responsible for this. These ideas bleed their way into the Gospels. The prologue of John certainly emerges from the thinking of the Alexandrian Jew, Philo, who was a Hellenistic Jew. So Paul merged pre-existing ideas that were very popular at the time. Paul's ideas, however, are very dualistic and very much like the Gnostic ideas and the Manichaeist ideas, that this world is largely a sinful, depraved, broken world in which man can't really do anything to save himself. The idea that this world must be run by a demiurge, a sort of a lower god, and the god of this world, the lord of this world, really, in a sense, the devil, and that man could do nothing to achieve a relationship with God, and therefore you need that term, the Christ Jesus. That's a term that's unique to Paul, that Christ would dwell in you, that only through him could you be saved. These ideas made enormous amount of sense to the Greco-Roman world and were complete nonsense in light of Tanakh. So Paul's view was that man can't save himself. Man is utterly lost, infected with the original sin, and his only hope for salvation is through the Christ Jesus. That was it. And that was a divine being, not the Trinity divine, but a divine Christ that dwells inside of you.